constitution. Okay, so let us start now this chapter, kids. भारत gained independence from British rule. भारत ने जब अंग्रेजों से अपने देश को आजाद कराया 1747 to 1947 15 अगस्त 1947 को जब उन्होंने अंग्रेजों से अपने भारत को आजाद कराया, the British government transferred political power to the भारतीय। तब ब्रिटिश सरकार ने भारतीयों को राजनीतिक शक्तियों से संबद्ध कराया। Now the very first night was tried to lay down rules and the regulation to guide the governance of the country. Our nation leaders decide to have our own constitution. Our constitution that comprises that rules and regulations was prepared after a great deal of thought and discussion. यहाँ तक कि हमारे संविधान में जब एक बहुत बड़ा मुद्दा चला तो उन मुद्दों में उन्होंने बहुत सारे रेगुलेशंस और कुछ अच्छी बिलों को लॉन्च किया। The group of the representatives यहाँ पर of people लोगों का जो एक समुदाय है who prepared it from the constitutional assembly जिसे संविधान सभा में डाला गया। ओके, जैसे मीनिंग ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है a constitution may be defined as a set of the fundamental rights जो संविधान में मुख्य रूप से मौलिक कानूनों पर बना हुआ है। अकॉर्डिंग टू विच कंट्री मतलब कि देश जब इसी के आधार पर चलता है और स्टेट इज ऑर्गेनाइज्ड एंड तभी एक सही सरकार का निर्माण होता है। द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ अ कंट्री जनरली इंप्रूव्स वास्तव में जो संविधान होता है देश का मुख्य रूप से वो इंप्रूव होते हैं बाकी नंबर फर्स्ट फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट सरकार का आकार पावर एंड द फंक्शंस टू बी एक्सरसाइज्ड बाय द ऑर्गन्स ऑफ गवर्नमेंट सरकार की जो भी कार्य शक्तियां कितनी पावरफुल है दैट इज द लेजिस्लेटर एक्जीक्यूटिव एंड द जुडिशियल राइट्स एंड द ड्यूटीज ऑफ द पीपल लोगों की अधिकार और कर्तव्य कितनी इम्पोर्टेंट है तो इन सब चीजों को मिलाकर कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में भी होता है। चलिए भारत का कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन कहता है We made our constitution on 26 हमारा भारत का जो संविधान है 26 नवंबर 1949 में एंड एनफोर्स किया गया उसको लागू किया गया 26 जनवरी 1950 में। This marked the end of an era यह उस समय का युग था कि era in which भारत में जो युग था has been governed the acts of the British Parliament उस समय अंग्रेजी शासन जारी था। इसके बाद फॉर द पूर्ण स्वराज्य स्ट्रगल किया किसके लिए पूर्ण स्वराज्य के लिए कंप्लीट इंडिपेंडेंस पूरी तरह से भारत को जो आजादी मिली वो 15 अगस्त 1947 से अंग्रेजी रूल्स को खत्म कर दिया गया भारत से एंड आफ्टर लॉस्ट स्ट्रगल एक बहुत बड़े संघर्ष के बाद इट वाज 26 जनवरी 1930 एंड द कांग्रेस डिक्लेयर्ड पूर्ण स्वराज्य 26 जनवरी 1930 में कांग्रेस ने पूर्ण स्वराज्य डिक्लेयर किया कंप्लीट इंडिपेंडेंस एज द होल ऑफ द भारत के लॉन्च और भारत को संघर्ष के बाद आजादी मिली। Our year says that on the same day 26 January was celebrated as the Republic Day इसलिए हम 26 जनवरी को रिपब्लिक डे के रूप में मनाते हैं। All of our national efforts were directed towards the restoration of this body. Okay, चलिए कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन असेंबली है तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन असेंबली was set up कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन असेंबली को सेटअप किया गया 1946 में अ फ्रेम ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के रूप में फॉर भारत की। दिस असेंबली वाज एन इलेक्टेड बॉडी एंड रिप्रेजेंटेड डिफरेंट शेड ऑफ ओपिनियन एंड ऑल कम्युनिटीज एंड क्लासेस ऑफ भारत। डॉक्टर राजेंद्र प्रसाद was elected as the chairman of the Constitution Assembly. राजेंद्र प्रसाद को संविधान असेंबली का चेयरपर्सन चुना गया। Some of the other eminent members of the assembly included जवाहरलाल नेहरू, सरदार वल्लभ भाई पटेल and S. Radhakrishnan, विजया लक्ष्मी पंडित, मौलाना आजाद एंड सरोजिनी नायडू। इनको 8 मेंबर्स को चुना गया। It includes an 8 members drafting committee under the chairmanship of B.R. Ambedkar that have the final shape of the Constitution of Bharat। और जो बी आर अम्बेडकर थे उन्होंने भारतीय संविधान को एक नया प्रारूप दिया। The first meeting of the Constitution Assembly was held on सबसे पहली भारतीय संविधान सभा की जो मीटिंग रखी गई वो 9 दिसंबर 1946 में की गई। Constitution Assembly completed their task of enacting the Constitution over a period of 2 years, 11 months and 70 days. कितने दिन के लिए पूरा 2 साल 11 महीने और 17 दिनों में. The Constitution of the Bharat was passed down for State Assembly on 26 November 1949. चलिए enforcement of the Constitution है. Our Constitution finally came into the force on 26 January 1915. So, this day is celebrated as the Republic. इस दिन को Republic Day के रूप में celebrate किया जाता है. 26 January has a great significance in the history of Bharatiya freedom struggle. It was on this day in 1929 when the Congress leaders at the Congress session held in Lahore placed to attain full Swarajya or complete independence. चलिए, preamble है. The Constitution of the Bharat has a preface. जो Constitution of the Bharat का preface है और an introduction known as the preamble. The preamble is the most important part of the Bharatiya Constitutions. It is also known as the gist of the Constitution for its through lines. जो preamble है वो क्या है? संविधान का एक तरीके से रतन है जो लाइट करता है सोर्स, नेचर एंड एम्स का ऑब्जेक्ट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पर. ओके, चलिए, सोर्स ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है. द preamble of the Constitution began with phrases we, the people of the Bharat adopt, enact and give to the ourselves these constitutions. Constitution derives its authority from the citizen of Bharat and the people of the Bharat are the source of our constitutions. This means that the ultimate authority lies with the people of Bharat. People govern themselves through their representatives. Okay? So, next है nature of the Constitution. Sovereign state. The preamble defines Bharat as a sovereign nation. It means that Bharat is an independent country and completely free from foreign control and no external power can control or interference in the domestic or foreign affairs of Bharat. Celestial state and the term celestial was added to the preamble by the 42nd Amendment Act of the 1976. The preamble states that Bharat is a celestial state. It means that all the citizens of the country will be given equally opportunity in the field. This is done in order to bridge and the gaps between the rich and poor. Okay? So, democratic state act, the preamble declares that Bharat is the democratic state. Bharat is democratic state act. It implies that the government of the Bharat is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. ये जो देश है, ये जो सरकार है, ये लोगों की है, लोगों के लिए है और लोगों के द्वारा है. The people of the Bharat have the power. यहाँ तक कि भारत के लोगों के लिए पावर दी गई है कि वे अपने इच्छा के अनुसार, चॉइस के अनुसार सरकार बना सकते हैं और बना सकते हैं. Governor will be through their elected representatives. Okay, check. Secular state है. Secular was another term added to the preamble by the 42 Amendments Act of the 1976. Secular was another term. Secular is another term of preamble का प्रस्तावना का by the 42 Amendment Act of 1976 में दिखाया गया. Okay, check. It implies that there will be no religion of the state. Next, second, no one will be discriminated on the religious grounds. The state will not propagate, protect, or uphold any particular religion against other religion. Each individual has the freedom to process, practice, and spread his or her religion. Check. Republic states and the preamble mentioned that Bharat is not रिपब्लिक कंट्री. यहाँ तक कि भारतीय प्रस्तावना में ये बताया गया जो भारत है वो एक रिपब्लिक कंट्री है. It implies that we have an elected head of the state. वो अपने राज्य के हेड को चुन सकती है, the president for a fixed term. He or she is elected indirectly for a period of the 5 years. यहाँ तक कि प्रत्येक 5 सालों के बाद अपनी सरकार को चुनने का अधिकार रखते हैं. The post of the head of the state is not hereditary. Okay? चलिए ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है जस्टिस द प्रेमर ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन भारतीय संविधान में जो प्रस्तावना में लिखा गया है दैट जस्टिस वुड बी प्रोवाइड फॉर कि सभी को जो न्याय दिया जाए सबको एक समान दिया जाए no one will be denied just on the ground of caste, creed, sex or religious. चलिए liability है the term liability in the preamble implies that the citizens of the Bharat are free. यहाँ तक कि प्रस्तावना में संविधान में ये माना गया है कि भारत को हर तरीके से भारतीय नागरिक पूरी तरह से स्वतंत्र है अपने अच्छे अनुसार कार्य करने की liability में each individual is free to enjoy the basic rights and to live life of dignity. The individual rights mentioned in the preambles are freedom of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship. किसी को भी मानने की पूर्ण तरह से स्वतंत्र है। चलिए इक्वलिटी कहती है इक्वलिटी टेल्स ऑल द सिटीजन आर इक्वल। समानता कहती है कि देश में भारत में रहने वाला प्रत्येक नागरिक चाहे वो महिला है चाहे पुरुष है सभी को समान अधिकार दिया गया है। No and will be protected equally by the laws of land. और यहाँ तक कि सभी लोगों के साथ एक जैसा न्याय किया जाएगा। The state should not be discriminated between people on the basis of place of birth, sex, class, creed, race, religion or the well-being. चलिए, fraternity है। The word fraternity implies brotherhood amongst people. यहाँ तक कि सभी में एक भाईचारे की भावना होगी। This is when the removing social barrier जिनका कार्य होगा भारत से सामाजिक इशू को खत्म करना। It aims at the irrigating communities and disability in the associated ideas in the cities. और समाज में जितनी भी सामाजिक बुराई है छुआछूत की जातिवाद इन सबको खत्म करना। We belongs to diverse social groups but we are first and the foremost Bharatiya. And this feeling of the being one people is promoted and the firmly established. Social evils such as untouchability and communism can be removed. चलिए आगे है फंडामेंटल राइट्स इन द भारतीय कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन। नंबर फर्स्ट है राइट टू इक्वलिटी। सबसे पहले भारतीय फंडामेंटल राइट्स में हमारा क्या है राइट टू इक्वलिटी समानता का अधिकार। All persons are equal before the law. This means that all persons shall be equally protected by the laws of the country. It also states that no citizen can be discriminated against on the basis of their religion, caste, or sex. Every person has an access to a public building, including playgrounds, hotels, shops, etc. The state cannot discriminate against anyone in matter of employment. चलिए but the exceptions of this, the practice of the untouchability has been abolished. चलिए आगे है right to freedom does include the right to freedom of speech and expression. यहाँ तक कि जो स्वतंत्रता का जो अधिकार है वो इंक्लूड किया गया स्पीच और एक्सप्रेशन के लिए। The right to form association, the right to move free and reside in any part of the country, and the right to practice any profession, occupation or businesses. चलिए आगे है right against exploitation. The Constitution prohibits human trafficking, forced labor and the children working under 14 years of age. So the right to freedom of religion. Religious freedom is provided to a citizen. Every person has the right to practice, profess and propagate the reason of their choice. Next one, cultural and the educational rights. The Constitution states that all minorities, religious or linguistic, can set up their own educational institutions in order to preserve and develop their own cultures. Like the constitutional remedies are, this allows citizens to move or cut if they believe that any of their fundamental rights have been violated by the state. चलिए silent features of the constitution है। The Bharatiya Constitution is a written constitution. भारतीय संविधान क्या है लिखा वो संविधान है। भारतीय संविधान इज द lengthiest constitution in the world. सबसे लंबा संविधान है. भारतीय कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन प्रोवाइड्स फॉर द फेडरल गवर्नमेंट व्हिच इज द मिलिट्री इन स्टेट. भारतीय संविधान में सबको एक साथ लेकर चलने की भावना है. Our constitution has established a parliamentary form of government both the central and the state. भारतीय संविधान में स्थापित है दो पार्लियामेंट, सेंट्रल और स्टेट. Our constitution provides for single citizenships and recognize us as the citizen of Bharat. चलिए, our constitution limits certain fundamental rights for the citizen which cannot be taken away by the government. Our constitution establishes an independent judiciary. The judiciary can declare a law as unconstitutional if it is against the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution or any compulsory provision of the Constitution. चलिए, Part 4, the Constitution states certain directive principles which the government should follow and some ideas which the government should aim to achieve. They were adopted from the Constitution of Ireland. Okay, चलिए. Next one is the संस्कृति भारतीय सेक्युलरिज्म. The preamble of the Constitution of the Bharat ने declares किया था that Bharat is a secular state. No, history of the secularism has deep root, but it was the 18th century when the British East Bharatiya Company began to gain total control over Bharat. That ideas of the secularism begin to have impact on the Bharatiya mind. Until then, religious was considered to be inseparable from political and the social life. On the other hand, the British codified laws pertaining to the practice within these or the subcontinents. To this effect, they instituted separated laws of the Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Sikh, Parsi, and others. In doing so, they laid the foundation for a civil code, which remains largely unchanged to date. Bharat is a secular country. The term secular denotes the threefold relationship among them. State and religion. The word secular has not been defined or explained under the Constitution in 1950 or in the 1976 when it was made part of the preamble. A secular state means that the one that protects all religions equally and does not uphold any religion as the statism. Unlike in England, where the king is the head of the Protestant church, in Bharat there is no provision to make any religion the established church. The state observance and attitude of the neutrality and the impartiality towards all religions. चलिए, आगे what is law? Law क्या है? तो ये करते हैं discuss. Law is the derived from the Trinity word law. Law एक Trinity word है जिसका नाम है law, which means fixed. Law is something fixed according to the version. Law is that portion of the established law. कानून एक ऐसी portion है स्थापित करने का thoughts and the habits which have gained strict and formal recognition in the shape of uniform rule backed by authority and the power of government. तो सरकार के हाथ में होता है जिसके द्वारा neutrality and the impartiality towards all religions. Okay, चलिए, what is laws? कैसे हमने पढ़ा था? Laws and party according to the Wilson gate. The laws is that portion of the established thoughts and the habit which has gained strict and formal recognition in the shape of the uniform rule backed by authority and power of the government. सरकार के हाथों में होता है कानून बनाना और उसका एस्टेब्लिश करना देश पे. Okay, laws are therefore a set of the rules and the regulations which are recognized by the society and forced by the state. Okay, चलिए. Next है, what are laws required? We should look at our society. जैसे कि हम अपने समाज को देखते हैं, here find many people who suffers because of several unjust social practices. हम देखते हैं हमारे समाज में बहुत सारी बुराइयां हुई है. We can take the examples of the caste system. The practice of the untouchability was the cause of the suffering from millions of the people. यहाँ तक कि लोगों में छूआछूत की भावना इतनी भरी हुई है, बहुत सारे लोग millions people इससे प्रभावित हैं. So in the past we were forced to do work which was both demanding and the polluting in nature. This category was kept out from works that other people did. It made them backward. इससे लोगों की जो सोच है वो धीरे धीरे पीछे होती जा रही है, क्योंकि उन लोगों को इस तरह का दर्जा नहीं दिया जाता, तो उनकी सोच भी ये कार्य भी सब बैकवर्ड होती जा रही है. It was not possible to change the mindset of the people. इससे क्या हुआ? सबसे पहले लोगों का माइंडसेट को चेंज, लोगों के माइंड को चेंज किया. There was no responsible explanation to justify this inhuman practice. यहाँ तक कि हमारा समाज में बनी बनी सारी बुराइयों को धीरे धीरे खत्म किया. This leads to the acts of the atrocities being committed against the lower caste. The goal of our constitution was to ensure justice, social, economic, and the political equality of the state and opportunity, and to promote fraternity, assuming the dignity of the individuals. So the practice was eradicated. Several laws were passed by the parliament to achieve the purpose. यहाँ तक कि भारतीय संविधान में विभिन्न उद्देश्यों के द्वारा इसके कार्य किए गए. People lack will to change, जैसे कि लोगों को धीरे धीरे में परिवर्तन कमी को सुधारा गया. The government has to take the initiative to force change to implement the provision of the constitutions. Some laws which ensure the dignity of the people of the low caste are: number first is Protection of the Civil Rights Act 1955. Scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes है जो एक्ट कानून करते हैं 1989. Employment of the manual scavengers and the strict constrictions of dry latrines prohibited Act 1993. Women have been victim of the unfair treatment. औरतों के साथ जब अच्छा बर्ताव नहीं किया जाता था, सेंचुरी पुरानी शुरुआती में मनु द ग्रेट ऑफ द फेमस बुक ऑन एंसेंट हिंदू लॉ, तब उन्होंने मनु ने भारतीय संविधान के ऊपर कानून की बड़ी किताब लिखी. मनुस्मृति स्ट्रीट नॉ स्ट्रीट सेद्रेंगा मित्रा अकॉर्डिंग टू हिम विमेन्स डिस्टर्ब्स नो फ्रीडम. ऐसे उन्होंने लिखा कि महिला को जो आजादी नहीं है, एज दे हैव नो आइडेंटिफाई टू देयर, वे अपने आप को नहीं पहचान सकती, तो उनको विमेन की अपलिफ्टमेंट के लिए उन्होंने कार्य किया और फोर्स किया टू सफर मैनी कस्टम्स और बहुत सारी रीति रिवाजों को खत्म किया. एंड वो क्रूरली, जो बहुत ज्यादा क्रूरली था, लीड टू वर्स लाइक इन्फेंटिसाइड, सती, पाटा सिस्टम, डॉगी एक्सेट्रा, इन सभी चीजों को अंत किया. विमेन्स वर नॉट गिवन राइट्स, ताकि औरतों को जब अधिकार नहीं दिया गया था, and had no opportunity to express their views and opinion. अपने व्यू और अपने नजरिए कोई विचार नहीं था. This has continued since accident time and continues to date in some places. As the Constitution has guaranteed rights, इसलिए संविधान की गारंटी भारत में औरतों के अपलिफ्टमेंट के लिए बहुत सारे कार्य के लिए सबसे पहले उन्हें दर्जा दिलाया गया, अधिकार दिया गया, how to be the safeguarded का. Several laws have been passed over the last few decades to achieve their objectives. Number first is to prevent the evil practice of giving and taking of dowry in society. The Dowry Prohibition Act of 1961 was passed. This act makes taking and the giving dowry a crime. Anyone found guilty will be fined or imprisoned for a person no less than 5 years. Sati. Number second is sati is the evil practice of the buying or buying alive of the widows or women. यहाँ तक कि विडो और women को क्या किया जाता था, अपने पति के साथ ही उसको मार कर जला दिया जाता था. सती प्रथा कहते थे, जिसको उसका अंत किया. The commission of the sati उसको रोका गया 1987 Commission of the Sati and its glorifications. It was passed after group concord committed sati in the Deoria in Rajasthan. सबसे पहले राजस्थान देवरिया में इसको बंद किया गया था 1987 में. The incident lead to the widespread criticism in the country. जो इस देश में सबसे ज़्यादा आलोचनात्मक मुद्दा. The government is planning to pass a law which would aim to punish the entire place. अगर कि कोई गांव ऐसा करता है तो पूरे गांव को पनिश किया जाएगा. When an act of the city took place, जहाँ पर सती ऐसा देखा गया. Next है to prevent indication representation of the people through advertisement. उसके बाद विज्ञापन के दौरान फोटो का कार्य किया गया और in the publications, writing, painting, figures or in any other manners, the indecent representation of the women Prohibition Act 1986 was passed. The declaring sex ratio is another cause for much concern in the country. To curb it, the perinatal diagnostic techniques, calculation and the application of the Misuse Act 1996 has been passed by the Parliament. It bans sex determination test. This is because as soon as it was discovered through test, but the fetus was female used to that is absurd. Okay, check. On 29 March 2006, में first ever convictions under the P&DT Act which came into the force. उस पर दबाव बनाया गया 1987 में took place in Haryana. The subdivision Jyoti magistrate of the Palwal town in Faridabad district sentenced one doctor as the clinic technician 2 years imprisonment. यदि डॉक्टर ने किसी भी महिला को ऐसे बताया कि ये गर्भवती बेटी है और इसकी क्या की है उसका अबॉर्शन किया गया है तो ऐसे डॉक्टर को 2 साल के जेल में डाला जाएगा एंड कॉस्ट ऑफ फाइन लगाया जाएगा 5,000 आफ्टर रिपोर्ट फाउंड गिल्टी ऑफ द रिलेटिव. यदि किसी ने बताया कि वो मेल है या फिर फीमेल है that's on 3 months ऐसे जैसे कि 3 महीने को परीक्षण करके देखा गया who appeared as the deco is elected to by the state health official in October 2001 में इस पर पूरी रोकथाम कर दी गई. फिर है rules of the constitution in determining the authority of law. The legislator makes law. जैसे संविधान में जो कानून बनाए गए a law is dead letter unless it is put into the practice. और जब उनको प्रैक्टिस में लाया गया the executive has the responsibility to implement laws. तो उसमें कुछ ना कुछ कानूनों में इम्प्रूव किया गया. It has to be important on the way in which a law would be implemented. Sometimes a law passed by the legislature and order made by the executive are challenged by the people. Democratic countries have a written constitution give people the power and appeal to the court where they are in doubt about a law or an order. The court has the power to decide whether they are at the power of the constitution or not. In Bharat, the Supreme Court and the High Court enjoys this power. So the court examining the provision contained in the law or an order. Again, the Constitution further clarifies that while making laws, the legislature cannot make a law which contravenes the fundamental rights contained in the Part 3 of the Constitution. Then, thus any laws which takes away and rights contained in the Part 3 are likely to be declared void of the judiciary if it infringes upon the fundamental rights of the people. Rights are not absolute. जो अधिकार है वास्तव में absolute नहीं थे. The Constitution itself put restraint on the enjoyment of rights. जब संविधान में सारे अधिकारों को लिखा गया तो लोगों को कुछ राहत मिली. In other words, restriction by laws यहाँ तक कि कानून के अंदर can be put on the enjoyment of the rights by individuals. This is done in the larger interest of society. For example, we have right to freedom. उन्हें अधिकार दिया गया स्वतंत्रता का, but this freedom can be restricted to allow other people to enjoy similar freedoms. A law made by legislator can put responsible limits on the enjoyment of our freedom. However, if we feel that the restriction imposed on our freedom is not responsible, we can appeal in the High Court of the Supreme Court. Okay? चलो उसके आगे है केस The Constitution divided powers between the central government and state. जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन संविधान डिवाइड करता है शक्तियों को सेंट्रल में और स्टेट को. If any dispute erupts of the decided by the Supreme Court और इनके जो झगड़े होते हैं वो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में दाए जाते हैं. Thus, the state legislature cannot make a law. जो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट होती है वो कोई लॉ नहीं बनाती on a subject over which the parliament has the power to make laws. यहाँ तक कि वह पार्लियामेंट के ऊपर उन कानूनों को बनाकर छोड़ देती है. Any such law would be declared यदि कोई भी कानून डिक्लेयर करना होता है by the Supreme Court के द्वारा. Likewise, there is a conflict between a law made by the state legislature and the parliament. The Supreme Court would इन सभी पार्लियामेंट से होते हुए फिर सुप्रीम कोर्ट पर जैसे ही सेटल होता है. In all cases, it is the Constitution's which determines the authority of law. फिर संविधान उस पर अपनी मोहर लगा देता है और वो कानून पारित हो जाता है. It is the supreme document judiciary mainly upholds and protect the constitutions. Laws and the dissented all laws made by the legislature. यहाँ तक कि जितने भी कानून जो संविधान सभा में बनाए गए have to follow, उनको फॉलो किया जाएगा. The problem which now arises, उस समय बहुत सारे लोगों को समस्या हुई is whether we should follow law. कि कानून के अनुसार चलना थोड़ा समस्यापूर्ण था पर which is understand and fair जो ये बहुत बुरा लगता था. But even though legislative is chosen by the people, लेकिन जब लोगों को इसके अधिकार चुनने का मौका दिया गया does not mean that all laws passed by our in the interest of the society or people obliged to obey such laws. तो समाज में रहने वाले लोगों को इसका फायदा भी होना शुरू हुआ और उन्होंने कानूनों को मानना भी शुरू कर दिया. चलिए assistance and equal educations in the rural area of the land shaped in the southern state of Andhra Pradesh. In spontaneous mobilization of the women to place the demanding a ban of the sale of alcohol in their neighborhood. Liquor mafia takes to the hills of women's feedback. The women of the place gathered in Kalakari, middle of the Chittor district assembly and resolved to put an end to the strain of the spread of their place. They conveyed this resolution to the place attack vendor. That can make the zeal that brought attack packets to the blaze. However, when the blaze attacked, when they informed the contractor about this, the contractor sent him a gang of a men to help him. Resumed safe. Rumors of the blaze opposed this move. The contractor called in the police, but even they had to beat the retreat. A week later, women prevented the sale of addicts were exulted by the contractor beats of the retreat. A week later, guardians and the iron doors and the other related weapons. But when the women destroyed the exultingly, the hurried mafia took to their case. The women later destroyed 3 jeeps full of threat. Okay? Now, kids, this chapter will be completed. I hope that you understood that. Thank you. Have a nice day.